World War I ended in 1918, but peace was fragile. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed heavy penalties on Germany. Germany lost territory and was forced to pay large reparations. Many Germans felt this treaty was deeply unjust and humiliating. This resentment simmered for years. Then, the Great Depression struck in the 1930s. This economic crisis caused widespread unemployment and poverty globally. It made existing political problems even worse. Nations struggled and people looked for strong leaders. New aggressive ideas began to take hold in several countries. In Italy, Benito Mussolini and his fascist party rose to power. In Germany, Adolf Hitler led the Nazi Party, promising to restore German greatness. Japan saw its military leaders gain more influence. These regimes glorified war and national expansion. They believed their nations were superior and deserved more land. They harshly suppressed any opposition within their own borders. Their ambitions directly challenged the existing world order. International efforts to maintain peace, like the League of Nations, proved too weak. Early acts of aggression showed the failure of international cooperation. Japan invaded Manchuria in China in 1931. Italy attacked Ethiopia in 1935. Germany, under Hitler, reoccupied the Rhineland in 1936, violating the Versailles Treaty. Britain and France adopted a policy of appeasement. They hoped to avoid another devastating war by giving in to some of Hitler's demands. This policy, however, only emboldened him. Germany annexed Austria in 1938. Later that year, it took control of parts of Czechoslovakia. The final act that plunged Europe into war was the invasion of Poland. In August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union signed a non-aggression pact. Secretly, this agreement included plans to divide Poland between them. On September 1, 1939, German forces stormed into Poland. They used new tactics of fast-moving warfare. This invasion was the immediate trigger for World War II. 2 days later, on September 3rd, Britain and France declared war on Germany. The world was once again engulfed in a major conflict. As the war began, major alliances formed, dividing the world. The Axis powers consisted primarily of Germany, Italy, and Japan. These nations signed the Tripartite Pact in September 1940. This pact formalized their alliance. They aimed to establish a new world order dominated by their empires. They supported each other's expansionist ambitions in Europe, Africa, and Asia. Their ideologies shared features like extreme nationalism and militarism. They were united in their opposition to Western democracies and communism. Each Axis power had its own specific territorial goals. Opposing the Axis were the Allied powers. Initially, the main Allied countries were Britain and France. The British Commonwealth nations, like Canada and Australia, also joined the fight. The alliance grew significantly as the war progressed. The Soviet Union joined the Allies in June 1941. This happened after Germany launched a surprise invasion of Soviet territory. The United States entered the war in December 1941. China had already been fighting Japan since 1937 and was a crucial Allied member in Asia. Many other smaller nations eventually joined the Allied cause against aggression. In Europe, the war expanded rapidly after the invasion of Poland. Germany employed a new military tactic called blitzkrieg, or lightning war. This involved swift, coordinated attacks by tanks, motorized infantry, and aircraft. Poland was defeated in a matter of weeks. In the spring of 1940, German forces conquered Denmark and Norway. Then they swiftly overran Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and France. By June 1940, Britain stood almost alone against Nazi Germany. The Battle of Britain, an intense air campaign, saw the Royal Air Force defend the UK against German bombers. The war became truly global with Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, Japanese aircraft launched a surprise assault. They bombed the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. The attack aimed to neutralize the US Pacific Fleet. Japan hoped this would give them free rein to expand in Southeast Asia and the Pacific. The United States was stunned and outraged. The next day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt asked Congress to declare war on Japan. Soon after, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States, honoring their Axis pact. A critical turning point occurred on the Eastern Front. In June 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa. This was the largest land invasion in human history. German armies advanced quickly at first, capturing vast territories. However, the immense size of Russia and the brutal winter conditions slowed them down. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought from late 1942 to early 1943, was a savage and pivotal conflict. The Soviet Red Army managed to encircle and defeat the German Sixth Army. This victory marked the beginning of Germany's long retreat from Eastern Europe. Another major turning point was D-Day on June 6, 1944. Allied forces, including American, British, and Canadian troops, launched Operation Overlord. This was a massive amphibious invasion of Normandy in German-occupied France. It was the largest seaborne invasion ever attempted. Despite heavy casualties, the Allies established a beachhead. This operation opened a crucial second front against Germany in Western Europe. Allied armies began the slow and difficult process of liberating France. They then pushed onwards towards the borders of Germany itself. The war inflicted terrible suffering on soldiers. They faced constant danger and brutal combat conditions. Many were killed or severely wounded. Beyond physical injuries, soldiers endured immense psychological strain. This was often called shell shock or combat fatigue. They lived with fear, exhaustion, and the loss of comrades. Long separations from their families and homes added to their hardship. Food, clean water, and medical supplies were often scarce, especially on distant fronts. Disease was a constant threat, sometimes as deadly as enemy bullets. Their experiences left lifelong scars. Civilians also endured unimaginable horrors during the war. Cities across Europe and Asia were subjected to relentless bombing campaigns. The Blitz in Britain saw German planes attack London and other cities. Allied bombers later devastated German and Japanese cities. Millions of people became refugees, forced to flee their homes to escape fighting or persecution. Food shortages led to widespread hunger and malnutrition. Rationing was common. In occupied territories, many civilians joined resistance movements. Millions of innocent civilians died from bombings, massacres, starvation, and systematic extermination, like the Holocaust. By early 1945, the end of the war in Europe was approaching. Allied armies advanced on Germany from both the west and the east. Soviet troops fought their way into Berlin in April 1945, a brutal final battle. Adolf Hitler, realizing defeat was inevitable, committed suicide in his bunker. On May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally to the Allies. The official declaration came on May 8, celebrated as VE Day, Victory in Europe. While Europe rejoiced, the war against Japan in the Pacific continued fiercely. The Allies prepared for a costly invasion of the Japanese mainland. To avoid a prolonged and bloody invasion, the United States made a momentous decision. President Harry S. Truman authorized the use of a new, devastating weapon, the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The city was instantly destroyed and tens of thousands died. 3 days later, on August 9th, a second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. This city also suffered catastrophic destruction. Faced with this unimaginable power, Japan announced its surrender on August 15, 1945. World War II was finally over. The outcomes of World War II were staggering. It was the deadliest conflict in human history. Estimates suggest between 70 and 85 million people perished. This figure includes soldiers and civilians. Much of Europe and Asia lay in ruins. Cities were flattened, economies shattered, and societies deeply wounded. The war led to significant redrawing of national borders. It also hastened the decline of the great European colonial empires. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the world's two dominant superpowers. Their rivalry would soon lead to a new kind of conflict, the Cold War. The long-term effects of World War II reshaped the global landscape. The United Nations was established in 1945. Its primary goal was to promote international cooperation and prevent future wars. The war spurred rapid technological advancements, including radar, jet engines, penicillin, and nuclear energy. Horrors like the Holocaust led to a new focus on human rights and international justice. The Nuremberg trials prosecuted Nazi leaders for war crimes. The memory of the war continues to influence global politics and serves as a somber reminder of the costs of conflict.